Soul Impressions for Life by Kaleo Salah. Living a life of learning is living a life in the flow. As we become increasingly truthful, exposed and individuated through life's trials, learning is becoming is life in the flow. This is how we become the flow. Once the perspective of being the flow is achieved, there is no looking or searching for the flow. The flow is always with us and will only increase in its abundance to offer what's really important. First rule of life and love is cause no harm. This is a critical rule to follow. Do no harm to self. Do no harm to others. Do no harm to anything. Each trial of life has its respective causes and effects. How you view these causes and effects will ultimately decide how you manage the situation. Your feelings and emotions are not you. They are just energies that arise through interaction between you and your environment. Having feelings and emotions is normal for everyone who has ever lived. Managing feelings and emotions is unique for each person and for each situation. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is indeed the path less traveled. This is the path of initiation for the hero that lives inside each person who has ever lived. Managing each of life's situations means managing yourself. First, you must take a real good look at who you are and who you want to become. This is the critical step of offering yourself to the hero's journey in exchange for this or something better. This choice point to offer yourself to the journey is an opportunity for awesome growth or awesome destruction. It's your choice, and no one can make this choice for you. This is where we find ourselves alone in the cave of darkness that is our own maturity and personal power. Facing this darkness is what makes life so freaking interesting and powerful. It is true. The opportunity to face this choice is indeed the pull that compelled you to come out of spirit into this body to experience this life as your own. This is the choice to join the journey of the soul as your very own myth in the making. Exciting and invigorating, to say the least, come what may. Making choices along the path requires clarity. Clarity requires honesty. Honesty is the primary focus of life, and it is clearly what's needed here. At each choice point, honesty is what's needed. Our first relationship with life is our relationship with truth and honesty. The only place solid truth and honesty can be found is within ourselves. It will never be found within another or outside ourselves. Selah. All things outside ourselves are transitive and fleeting and variable and interchangeable. Not solid, stable, lasting, not permanent, not unique. The only thing to be found unique is to be found inside, not outside. This is indeed the paradox of life. Experiencing this paradox creates the conundrum that foils all best efforts to control, dominate, and hoard. Nothing outside can ever be controlled, dominated, or hoarded, ever. Living in and experiencing this paradox of freedom and truth is the everlasting engine for eternal creation that allows for free will and free choice in one's relation to the environment. This paradox is where the friction of life is created, on purpose and by design. This is the paradox of creation and relation found in the energy matrix between the Creator and each creation. This is the stuff of life. Freedom for one is freedom for all. there are no exceptions to this rule. This paradox of internal-external, creator-creation, freedom-bondage, pleasure-pain, relatedness has a certain and powerful grainy appeal for anyone who has ever lived. Permanence and stability is what we are each looking for in all corners of life and in each interaction. We look for permanence in all things that we hold dear to our survival and for our meaning. We look for solidity and stability in things outside because we lack clarity in forms of relationship, and we don't ever want to use these things to see them go away. If these things go away, we believe that our life is over and finished until the next thing comes along that we can hold on to. This is the meaning of flying the life trapeze. It never ever stops, and humans never seem to get enough swinging to find real happiness. This condition of looking outside for meaning is normal. It's part of the human condition. As things become dislodged from our environment, we are given chances to overcome and actually see ourselves and our environment through different eyes, perhaps for the first time. What you really are inside is never what you think you are inside. You are only what you are. You can only be what you ever really are. Your environment is there to help you see clearly what it is that you really are. There is a perfect resonance between the truth of who you really are and what your environment tells you. It is up to you to interpret this communication clearly and effectively in order to get the fullest meaning from your interactions and situations. What's important in this interactive communication is to hear your own internal voice more loudly and listen closely for what it tells you about yourself. Anything it tells you about the outside world is just another story that you're telling yourself. It's another story in a fleeting mosaic of garbled noise where one world has nothing but true meaning for itself. Your meaning is internal. For the learner of life that is the hero on the journey, it's what is said about the inside world that really counts, not what's said about the outside world. The opportunity for you to hear your inner voice and clear it of any judgment or doubt or self-hate is very true, is very real. This is the life journey. Inconsistency exists because we choose for them to exist. Confusion exists because we choose for it to exist. Feeling like a loser or a failure doesn't mean that you're actually a loser or a failure at all. It's just a feeling that comes from the emotion of the situation. This feeling is not you. It's just a communication that needs to be deciphered by your internal mechanisms of higher love, truth, self-acceptance, and learning. When your inner mechanisms of higher learning kick in, there is no longer any room for negative self-talk. All negative self-talk will instantly become de-energized in exchange for higher learning. This is the law. This is an instant process that transmutes lower vibrations and turns it into energy for higher vibrations. This is the learning process in action, and it really works this way. As these internal messages work their way into your mind, you will have the tendency to beat yourself over the head with their awesome negative power. Doing this uses the power of creation against itself, so don't do it. This is called getting into the guilt loop, and it foils all forms of creativity. Instead of giving precious power over to the internal guilt loop, please refer to rule number 1. Do no harm to self. And remember it. Doing harm to self helps no one, and it only serves to muddy your internal water. These negative messages are offering themselves to you for purposes of highest learning. Using our internal learning processes, we can allow these messages to flow through us and leave a residue or a footprint. We call this residue the soul impression, and it is the basis for all learning in life. The soul impression is the internal substance, the eternal internal substance, that is the universal byproduct of existence, intimate and unique in its interaction between the external environment and the individual. This interaction is the universe coming back into itself. This eternal substance is the friction of life. It is the substance of divine renewal. Creating this eternal substance is what each individual does in each moment of existence. This is the elixir of life that each of us excretes in each moment of interacting with our environment, no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing. The fact that we produce this eternal substance is automatic and it's nothing special. It's kind of like a spider secreting web stuff. Pretty normal if you're a spider. What we do with this eternal substance of creation is the only variable. What kind of web shall we weave? Beautiful. Spinning the beautiful web of life requires each being truthful and seeing clearly. The messages that become available to each soul impression as each soul impression happens. This is where the living of life occurs. This is where the learning of life occurs. This is the point of impact that each of us must come to withstand if we are to survive and thrive on this planet. In each moment of available truth, there is a corresponding soul impression and creative essence to go along with it. Soul impressions are there to give our internal processes something to do. Without the process of creating soul impressions, there is no need for interactions between the individual and various things of life. In football, we call this intense interaction being in the trenches and in the red zone. Basketball calls it going hard in the paint. Regardless of what terms we choose to use, this is where all bets are final. It is indeed time to ring the bell and come out ready, swinging. Preparation for now is indeed in the past. This is where the rubber meets the road. Your struggle is never with the environment, it's always inside yourself. This is critical to understand as life's lessons continually come delivered through your environment. What other way would your lessons come, I ask you? How other could you learn if not in relation to something that makes you learn? Life is the stuff and lessons are the things. Life is the substance of lessons offered. Life becomes as lessons are learned. Lessons become life in action. Lessons are the particles of the flow of life. Eat lessons and live life. As we eat lessons, we nourish our highest becoming. This is really where the rubber meets the road for being human. Eat lessons and you'll live happy. Refuse lessons and you'll die sad. Psychoanalysis and psychiatry and counseling that doesn't focus on your internal learning process does you no favors. The failure of modern healing modalities is the failure of our current civilization. Where there is pain and suffering, current society increasingly chooses band-aid fixes that never quite get down to the root cause. This is where looking outside to see what's going on inside must be complemented with looking inside to see what's going on outside. It's a symbiotic relationship between internal and external processes that work perfectly well if we just allow the communication to flow and inform. Soul impressions. Now. Love. Selah.